Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat, our WWE show for the week. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, The Crusher.
Gary Rhodes, everybody.
I'm running out of them. I gotta give you good ones now.
I wasn't expecting it.
But anyway, first we're gonna start off with the first thing, the finals in the tag team tournament for the #1 contenders for Daniel Bryan and Kane's championship. Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio versus the Rhodes Scholars. One thing I want to talk about with that, did you notice for the first time since they've been a team they didn't come out in matching gear?
Yeah, I think that they're getting ready to scrap that gimmick.
And I kind of liked them as a team. I don't know why they would scrap it other than maybe Rey's more bad off than they're alluding to on television.
Yeah, and I just don't see it. I mean, they're okay for what it was, but I think the tag team tournament's over. Rhodes Scholars got over. They've done their part, so they're going to separate them back up. Now, the next match was Kofi Kingston, fresh off his Intercontinental Championship win over Mike McGillicuddy, a.k.a.
Well, he beat
Joe
The Miz. He beat The Miz on main event. That's who they won the title from.
Mm-hmm.
But he's fighting Mike McGillicuddy.
Yes, sorry. And it was a decent match. I mean, I'm kind of partial to McGillicuddy because of his father, but they didn't even bring that up. They brought up his grandfather, but didn't bring up his father.
They did bring up his father.
Did they? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, they say he's a third-generation star, grandson Larry the Axe-Handing, son of Kurt. But, you know, looks like he started off his career just like Kurt did. It took Kurt a while before he heated up and actually became a guy that was a mid-card, high-level card guy. He did, if you want to check it out, Kurt was a jobber for a little while with the WWE in a tag team with, surprisingly, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. But they were a jobber team, enhancement talent in the early 80s. Kurt went back to AWA, where he was from, got a little better, won their World Heavyweight Championship of Minnesota, and then came back and had one of the best Intercontinental runs that they've had in the company. And it's kind of like what they're doing with his son Joe, Michael McGillicuddy, who's supposedly Triple H is high on.
Yeah, well, and the kid's great. I mean, he's got everything, every tool that he needs, the kid possesses.
He just happened to run into a buzzsaw, which is the Kofi Kingston push now, who's starting to get a high-level face push, and I'm glad to see it. The kid really deserves it.
I'm kind of with you, though, on the other fact. I think they should start turning him heel.
Yeah. And then we got after that, we had the segment where Boy Scout John Cena comes to the ring, explains why he gave Ryback the match.
So he's trying to make himself not look like a pussy?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Then he announces that he can fight now, and which brings out CM Punk. CM Punk runs him down, says, you know, basically the only reason you gave up the match is because you can't beat me.
And he hasn't. Yeah.
I thought it was a great point. A little bit lackluster in the overall delivery until CM Punk came out, who really gave a shit.
Pretty much.
And then after that,
we were the whole night beforehand. They were talking about AJ and her meeting in Stanford.
You're skipping.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did. We had the Antonio Cesaro, Justin Gabriel rematch. Awesome match. These two guys worked great together, and the upset happened where Gabriel got over.
Which hopefully leads to a Gabriel singles push. The kid got tons of talent. He's a great high-flying type guy. He works well, as you can see, with a bigger guy like Antonio Cesaro, who continues to impress. I mean, at one point, he just flat-out throws Gabriel over his head into the turnbuckle.
It was an awesome maneuver. I mean, to some people, it probably didn't look that impressive, but if you look at the way he did it with the raw strength,
yeah, I
mean, it was awesome.
The guy's a powerhouse. I mean, he's got future world champion written all over him.
All over him.
And I did like Justin Gabriel winning here, even though I like Cesaro a little better. Maybe it'll start a little feud. It's already a mini feud. They won both each off of each other, so there has to be a rubber match, right?
I think that they're going to do it for the YouTube show or for the pay-per-view.
Yeah. And then why don't you go ahead with the next one since you started it anyway?
I'm sorry. Sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay, Sid.
I botched. Anyways, where AJ, you know, the whole night beforehand, everybody's talking about AJ having to go to Stanford for this big meeting, and all of a sudden, here comes the limo pulling up. Out comes Vince, out comes AJ. So they go to the ring, and AJ gives up being the general manager because she's had personal relations with a wrestler.
Which we find out later was her and John Cena had dinner together, which hopefully leads to something other than that, than it was maybe they really are. It would be more interesting to John Cena's character and AJ Lee's character if they did have an affair, in my opinion.
I think so. Everything works better if there's a little bit of dirt in it, and Cena has been sparkling clean for a little too long as far as characters go.
Now, coming off of that, he had Paul Heyman come out asking to be the new GM, and Vince McMahon named Vicky Guerrero the new, what do you call her, associate manager?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. He didn't call her the GM, so hopefully, even later on when Cena's talking to him, he's like, well, I didn't name a GM, I named her an associate manager. I don't even know what the hell that means. But no one in the crowd does either. But basically, you put Vicky Guerrero back into position of power, which makes no sense to me because if, storyline-wise, I mean, not talking, kayfabe-wise, if AJ is forced to resign because of a relationship with a wrestler, Vicky's been married to 2 wrestlers on screen. She's dated Big Show on screen. She's dated Ziggler. I don't know if they're dating now, if he's her boy toy, whatever. They go back and forth with it. So she would be a person that's also has a conflict of interest. If that's why AJ was fired, she shouldn't even be hired.
That's the question.
But, and then coming off of that, we have speaking of questions, our question of the week last week was, who do you think the best big man wrestler was? A guy over 400 pounds. Now, we got an answer from one of our fans on our Facebook, or I'm sorry, on our YouTube page, Choppy84, just simply put Vader. I don't think there's, for what he did at the time he did it, he was revolutionary. It was him and Bam Bam Bigelow really kind of changed the style that big guys would wrestle. And he really added a lot as a big guy. A little bit later in his career, he wasn't as great. But you seen the pop when he came out this year in the Heath Slater thing. The guy's still over. Is a great choice by Choppy. What do you think?
Usually I don't agree with everybody, but I have to agree with Choppy, man. Vader was a monster. He was a legit monster in the ring. Really didn't have a lot of heat with a lot of guys except for Mr. Wonderful in the back room. But other than that,
and Harley now.
But, if he wouldn't have let other people push him around more, I think he would have been a world champion in WWE.
Do you think Vader said yes too much, and that's kind of why he didn't get as big as he should have been?
Oh, exactly.
He should have said no to a lot more people he lost to than he did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and
I think
let a lot of wrong people get over where he shouldn't.
I think Vince did wrong with him too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Vince booked him right when he went to WWF, except for the Boy Meets World episode. That was pretty funny when he was
yeah.
When he was the kid's
Randy
name
from Earl.
ended up being Randy from Earl. He was his dad on the show. And Mankind was on the show too. Which,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Two good things that go together. I love Boy Meets World, and I love Mankind. Can't go wrong.
Exactly. So who is your choice?
My choice is a little bit old school for you guys. Someone that most of you people didn't even see work. Gorilla Monsoon. The guy was a constant threat for the World Heavyweight title at a time where heels didn't really win championships. He was over as big as anybody could ever be over. He wrestled, I believe he wrestled Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
He wrestled I'm trying to think, did he wrestle him in the Garden? Or
I think so.
It might have been the Garden. I don't know where he wrestled Ali, but he wrestled Ali, which would be, that's the equivalent of someone wrestling LeBron James right now. And the guy was tremendous. He never got to get the world title, but he got several tag title runs. Was so popular that he stayed around even after it, became a commentator, one of the best commentators ever, and then became a GM.
Plus he had the position named after him. The Gorilla position is named after Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah, and then what was it, commissioner? Was he commissioner or
he was commissioner.
President?
I think it was president. He
was president because after him, they stopped calling him president in respect to him, mm-hmm. and named it the commissioner, which became Slaughter. But Gorilla Monsoon is, in my opinion, the best big man of all time. If you get a chance, YouTube some of his work. Now, coming off of that, our question of the week this week is something we just talked about. With Vicky Guerrero basically getting the GM position of power, whatever you want to call it, the GM position. We think it was the wrong decision. We'd like to know who you guys think would have been a better pick than Vicky. If you think it is Vicky, go ahead and say we think Vicky's a great idea. But if you don't, let us know who you think. Put it on our Twitter page, put it on our Facebook, put it down where?
Down there.
Right down there in the comments. There he goes again.
That's slow motion.
Was that like Bo Jackson at the White Sox?
He still hit better than most guys.
But anyway, let us know your opinion. We'll make sure we bring it up on our next show. Now coming off of that, we got the next match after that was
the Ryback versus Miz squash fest. They're really not letting the guy, they need to, if they're going to put him against the world champion, they should have let him have Miz go a little bit more, which Miz did this time more than the last match they had with each other, but should have, had more of a little back and forth.
Did you read where Ryback struggled over the weekend to put Paul in the shell shock, Paul Heyman?
Really? I didn't hear that.
Yeah. And this is the second time, of course, the first one being on Tensai when he had trouble lifting him.
Well, he's not really a giant guy, though.
Yeah, but he's probably got a low center of weight. Plus, he's not a trained wrestler, so he doesn't know how to help him get him up.
True.
And, for all he looks at, and oh, by the way, before we go too much further on that, something that we're trying to get, if you guys see this, we send it out on our Twitter page. It was an idea that I first heard from Paul from the Deadly Sins. Ryback is like a historically big eater, eats 9 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is for him to face Natter and I'm sorry, Natter, I forgot your last name, and Jamie McDonald, who are 2 of the top competitive eaters, either in a 3-way match to see who could eat the most, or either one-on-one with one of the 2, or he finds a partner to face the 2. We like to see this happen. I really think these 2 guys, Jamie, if you guys are into competitive eating, these 2 are probably 2 of the best in the world, if not the 2 best, way better than that Joey Chestnut faggot. But they're really good guys. They've helped out on the show. Natter's always retweeting our stuff. He's always talking. If you guys think this should happen, let Ryback know. His name is @Ryback22 on Twitter. Send him messages. Bombard him with this. I mean, this is a great marketing idea for the WWE, and also helps out they's guys too, they're good guys. But anyway, back to what you were talking about, because I'm sorry I cut you off. I just forgot to mention it.
That's fine. I mean, how did you think the match went?
I didn't like it too much, and it's the same reasons. You brought it up to me, and then when I really started thinking about it, is they buried Miz where they should not be burying Miz. I mean,
and then Wednesday they're going to have him versus Ziggler, and they're going to bury Ziggler. Or, Ryback. Ryback's going to face Ziggler, and then who's he going to trash on Friday to go to Punk? You're trashing all these top guys, and I understand they're trying to build this kid up, but they're doing it wrong because you're tearing out all the other competition.
Exactly. And then coming off of that, we had what I thought was a match of the night, Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler. Tremendous match. Ended up with Ziggler going over because Daniel Bryan was distracted by Kane. It was great stuff. These 2 guys, you can't say enough about how good they both are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're both former world champions, even though Ziggler I don't really count. But they're both guys that should be on the top of the card, and this is one of the matches that shows why.
Well, the one thing I liked about the match is the announcers weren't burying these 2 talking about other stuff. They were talking about the match, and they kept saying these guys are the present and the future of the WWE, and I think they are.
And speaking of Bryan, before we move on a little bit, Saturday Morning Slam, if you guys watch that or not, I don't know if you do. If you got kids, it's definitely a great show to show your kids if you're a little bit leery with them watching wrestling content. Daniel Bryan wrestled Tyson Kidd to an awesome match on there. It was just, and they wrestled it with the constraints of there's no headshots on the show.
And they did awesome with it. I really think that.
What did you think about when he turned into the ball? And
that was a good little pop, man. I liked it. I thought it was pretty funny.
If you guys didn't see it, I'm sorry, but I just thought it was funny. That was a hilarious spot. Daniel Bryan basically makes himself a ball so he can't be pinned. No matter what you do to him, his shoulders won't go down. then after that, we had the segment with Matt Striker came out for a newly tag game, a rip off of the Newlywed Game, with a Kane and Daniel Bryan. It's supposed to be the Rhodes Scholars. The Rhodes Scholars come out and say we're not going to do this. As much as I like Team Hell No together, I really think they're starting to milk this a little bit too much.
But we did realize one thing, that Kane does like rainbows and puppies.
Yeah, he likes rainbows and puppies, but there's only so much you could get off of the same joke over and over again. Write new stuff for them. DX came up with new material all the time. I mean, just because you fired Gerwitz don't mean that you don't got other writers that know how to write comedy.
That's the thing.
And that might be it. That might be why. Which, leading off of that, it had a show came out, and through Stryker, as Stryker was running away from Kane and Daniel Bryan, leading to, after the commercial break, Big Show versus Kane. I thought it was a decent match for the two guys. Big Show goes over, which is good with pretty much, this is probably going to be his go-home match before the pay-per-view. It shows him as really a threat to someone like Sheamus. If he could beat Kane, he could beat Sheamus.
Shamus. If he could beat Kane, he could beat Shamus. That's how they say it.
Are you Santino Marella?
No, I'm the guy that was in the next match, Alberto Del Rio. He faced Zack Ryder, and it was a decent squash match, which that's a Zack Ryder match. And I did like the fact that he's getting a lot more physical with wrestling. He's getting a lot more mean, showing his mean streak a little bit more. And the whole after the match when he was beating up on him after he won,
calling him
Orton,
Randy Orton.
I'm the new Apex Predator.
I think Zack Ryder is a perfect guy. He should be someone that's wrestling on Main Event and the Saturday Morning Slam guy. I think his gimmick's really good it's a good gimmick for the kids to see and get into wrestling. He's a guy that deserves to be on the show and get better treatment than what he has. He shouldn't really be a jobber at this point.
No, I'm not really high on him, but I'm high on the things he's done for himself.
Exactly. The kid has passion, and he cares more than almost anyone in the company about wrestling, and it's a shame that they're only using him as an enhancement talent, kind of like Kurt Hennig in the beginning of his career.
Or Mick Foley, because he was a jobber for WWF too, you faggot.
For 3 matches.
It doesn't matter.
Not over 3 years, but anyway.
3 matches, whatever. Anyways, we're going to the main event match next. Sheamus versus Punk, champion versus champion, in a lumberjack match. And I'm not a fan of lumberjack matches, are you?
In some contexts, I like them. I like them when you build it up that the heel is getting counted out or disqualified, running away from the fight. It makes sense. For a throwaway match like this, because there's no feud involved, there's no rhyme or reason. It's like putting them in a cage match for no reason. Like Punk versus Ryback, why are they in Hell in a Cell? What warrants that? What has Punk done to Ryback that deserves him to go in the cell with him?
Well, talking about the escaping, I think that's what it is, because, they've made it since they made the match that Punk keeps trying to run away from Ryback. Yeah. So I can understand it. But I don't understand well, we'll talk about that match after we get on with this match. I think everything worked well. The Big Show did good with his little part in it. Very impressive chokeslam.
Here's what I didn't like. I didn't like that about 3 or 4 heels, Antonio Cesaro, Jinder Mahal, and I forget who else it was, they all come in and get destroyed by Sheamus. So you basically kill off about half a dozen heels for no good reason other than do it in the match. Which led to the show doing the one-arm chokeslam on a guy the size of Sheamus, which is damn impressive.
Oh, yeah. The guy is strong. I'm not a Big Show fan, but I said the guy's a monster.
Yeah. And coming off of that, before we're done with this, what do you think about the match on Sunday night, the pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, Ryback versus Punk? What do you think's going to happen with that?
Who was it you were telling me last night that showed up there? I can't remember his name. Mason Ryan.
Mason Ryan.
I think Mason Ryan is going to make a save for Punk.
Well, he did. He was in New Nexus with him. He was his enforcer.
He's bigger than Ryback.
Yeah.
So, if he ripped the door off, it would be pretty impressive. Or, got his way in there and they double teamed up Ryback. I think I see something like that.
Speaking of ripping the door off, I'd like to see someone, because I don't think it's going to be a clean win for Punk if Punk wins. And the rumor is they want to keep the belt on him at least till Royal Rumble. Why not? If Mark Henry's ready to return, why not have him come out? He's someone the fans know can rip the door off of. And he's someone that would add a lot. If you put Mark Henry in the stable with CM Punk and Paul Heyman, and have Mark Henry chase the WWE or the World Championship, have Punk. I mean, I'm just going off the top of my head.
Or how about this? Did you notice during the end of Raw last night when Paul Heyman was standing there, he kept staring over at the Big Show? What if the Big Show wins or loses that match, becomes a Heyman guy again,
Exactly.
rips the door off and saves Punk?
Yeah, it's got to be something like that, or someone hiding under the ring, or Punk just finding a way to cheat and win. Because they're not going to. I don't think if they job Ryback clean, I don't think it's going to kill his push. And if they job Punk, it's going to be Ryback got shot up too far.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like it. Something I seen Nash was talking about in regards to Goldberg. The real reason why Nash beat Goldberg is they wanted to stop the streak gimmick because there's only so far you could go with it.
Exactly.
But basically, that's all I have for the week. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think we're at a crossroads, Cody Rhodes.
But that's all we have. My name's George Coles.
I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.